Hey, what's up, guys? WiseGuyVito here, and today I have another tier list video for you guys. And this one will be on the grenades slash throwables that is at your disposal in Helldivers 2. If you would like, share, subscribe in the video. Today, this tier list video will be for both Terminids and Automatons. It'll be like a mishmash of both, because I really don't think that there needs to be two different videos for Automatons and Terminids, in my opinion, because grenades, with all, obviously, like, there's going to be some that are better against Terminids than Automatons and so on and so forth. But to me, that detail is very, very minor because of just how the game is currently being played and how often, like, you'll use grenades that often and what kind of build that you're kind of going into. Right, obviously the fire grenades are not going to be as good against the Automatons compared to the Terminids and such. But I do think that, with this tier list, you'll kind of get like an accurate representation of what grenade should you be taking on Super Helldive difficulty, and also like what kind of builds that you can get out of these grenades. So without further ado, let's get straight into the tier list. Before we get into the tier list, let's kind of go over the tiers real quick. S tier, in my opinion, is, this is kind of like a grenade that's at top tier performance and fulfills kind of like the niche that it went into to kind of open up builds a little bit more. And we'll kind of get into, which grenades kind of open up builds a little bit more. But also S tier is also, this grenade does very, very well at its job, at being a grenade. Some of them are really good at chaff clear, while others may be good at anti-tank, right? And we'll kind of go over that as we go. A tier is, above average. It might have kind of a weakness to it against one faction or the other, but for the most part, these grenades are still pretty good in Helldivers. B tier is average. Nothing really to it. It has average performance, plain Jane, in my opinion. C tier would be more of like your below average, not really that great. Definitely needs to see some buffs to it. And then D tier is there needs to be some major buffs to it, and I do think there's one grenade slash throwable that's in this tier, and we'll go over that in a little bit. So without further ado, let's get started. So we'll go over the frag grenade first. I think that the frag grenade is actually very good now, but it's teetering into S tier, in my opinion, but I'm trying to be objective here as much as possible. Against Terminids, this is definitely an S tier grenade, but against Automatons, you might have to throw that extra grenade at a Devastator, but the frag grenade feels very, very good right now, especially against Terminids, because, whenever you have that roaming patrol of, hunters and like the little itty bitty like Wilbur type bugs is what Odo calls them, those type of bugs, even to a degree like the bile spewers and stuff, like kind of like the more tankier bugs, even the brew commanders, sometimes they will one-shot them, but sometimes you'll take out groups of enemies at at a time with this grenade, especially against bugs. Let's say if there's like a whole bunch of hunters and like Wilburs, you throw one grenade out, it'll kill like 10 of them. And that's where it kind of is very good at being a chaff type of grenade. But in my opinion, it is better on the Terminid side than on the Automaton side. But the Automaton side, like, it still is very good. It's great at taking out like the little itty bitty robots, because sometimes they come in a cluster or in a patrol. And it's also very good against, or somewhat good against Devastators. You might have to throw one more extra grenade, but there's sometimes where it'll just straight up just one-shot them. It just depends on the fragmentation of the actual grenade. So I'm putting an A tier at this moment in time, but if it's against Terminids, I probably would put an S tier. But overall, I think it's an A tier grenade at this moment in time. High explosive. I feel like the frag grenade is actually better than the high explosive, even though that the frag grenade, the high explosive does 800 damage, has armor pen 4 and stuff like that. I just don't get the utility out of it as much as I do with the frag grenade, and that's on both factions. I wish the grenade was just like a tiny bit better. Maybe it actually would blow chunks off of like chargers or or like heavy armored bots and stuff like that. But to me, like, it has a pretty long fuse time, has like around like a 4-second fuse time to it. To me, this is not really a grenade that, I mean, like, if you want to take it, that's fine. But to me, the frag grenade is definitely the better option overall, because it just does way better crowd control than the high explosive. So I'm going to put it in B tier currently, because it just feels average to me. The impact grenade, I do think it is better than the high explosive, just because it doesn't have a fuse time to it. You can just throw it, it explodes an impact. It'll handle anything that's in front of you for the most part. It has a decent radius to it, in my opinion. And it's still like a contender, in my opinion, is like one of the best grenades in the game. But that's where the buck kind of stops to it, in my opinion. It can handle like those more tankier enemies for the most part, but it's not anti-tank. It's just it can handle more tankier enemies. So anything with like medium armor for the most part, it handles those very, very well. But everything else, it does do decent, chaff clear and stuff like that, or like little bugs and bots and stuff like that. It does well, and it does well against devastators. But in my opinion, it doesn't really open up builds necessarily, right? And we'll go into which ones do open up builds. But the impact incendiary, I do think is A tier, and I'm also going to put the regular incendiary as well. It's just good for fire builds for the most part. It's better on terminids than anything else, in my opinion. You can use the impacts a lot better on automatons than you can with the regular ones. But with the fuse, what you get out of is that if there's a swarm coming towards you, you can lay down, if you can funnel them in to an area, you can effectively just throw an incendiary at your feet and then run away, and then it'll blow up and then it'll start cooking them, right? That's if you have fairly good, fairly good positioning or whatever. But in my opinion, how long I've been playing this game for and stuff like that, I have just overall just better positioning. Because I can position myself pretty well, in the amount of hours that I have in game sense and stuff like that. To me, I feel like the impact works for me better, but it's just personal preference, right? But you guys let me know what you think down in the comment section, what you think about the impact and incendiary, because in y'all's play style overall. The gas grenade, I do feel like it's S tier, just simply because gas has been buffed so much that I think that, it disorientates, plus it does open up an actual fun build, which is turrets. So you lay down your turrets, kind of get them set up, and then if there's like a bug breach or a bot drop or something like that, once you've thrown down your sentries, you kind of just want to like lob grenades into the bug breach or the bot drop, because it'll disorient them. And it'll start, like a small damage over time. And what the disorientation does is that the bots and the bugs are no longer targeting your sentries, and then your sentries will just lay them out. So the utility with the gas grenades is that it kind of opens up if you want to do a pure sentry build, if you really wanted to. So that's why I'm falling in love with the gas grenade, because of the pure sentry build. It's very, very fun to do. Definitely do it. It's definitely worth your time. And if you have the super credits, definitely get the gas war bond that just came out. Like it was like 3 months ago, like 2 or 3 months ago. Definitely get it, because it definitely does help out the sentry bit, or like those pure sentry builds, or if you just have a sentry within your loadout as a stratagem, it definitely helps it out. Smoke grenades, they do actually work as intended now, but to me, I'd still rather have something like a gas grenade that is disorienting. It does work well with sneak builds, but I don't know how strong stealth is now. In my opinion, stealth is still kind of meh in Helldivers, but smoke did get a buff in that it actually works now, because before, especially on the automaton side, where smoke was actually useful, in my opinion, or was supposed to be useful, the automatons would still lock onto you, or even soft lock onto you. They still kind of soft lock onto you now, but they would hard lock, like through cover and stuff like that, and they would kill you. and it didn't matter if you have smoke down or not. Like, they would just beam you down because they were just locked on to your character and stuff like that. That's fixed now, so now they shouldn't be able to lock on to you anymore. But to me, smoke still feels underwhelming, in my opinion. I'm not going to put it in C tier because, you know, I still think that it does open up, like, the stealth builds and stuff like that. I just don't think that stealth builds are as effective as any other build in Helldivers right now, because I don't think that the game really caters to stealth builds. Maybe they will buff stealth more in the future, but currently, as right now, I just, you know, I'm going to put it in B tier. Stun grenades are still S tier. You know, if you want everything to stop swarming you or stop shooting you, you just throw it, and it just stuns. You know, it's a great utility, fantastic utility. It's always going to be S tier, in my opinion, until, you know, maybe in the future they might nerf the stun effect. But in my opinion, the stun effect is right where it should be. Not saying that they should nerf it, but you know, I think it's fine. I don't think this stun necessarily overshadows anything really anymore. I think that it just does very, very well at what it does, which is it stuns everything, and then you can kind of like reposition yourself and stuff like that. It does kind of open up some builds whenever it comes down to, like, you know, if you need to get behind something. I think it does well. So you can kind of bring, you know, like those not anti-tank weapons. So you're not constantly having to bring something that does anti-tank, but it does kind of like halt the board so that you can like reposition yourself to do something else, right? And so I'm putting it in S tier because the utility of this grenade is actually very, very good. The Thermite grenade is S tier as well. Fantastic anti-tank now. Before it was useless. Now it's actually very, very good now. Does like 3,000, 8,000. It does an absurd amount of damage. It can one-shot a charge if you throw these on his head. It can two-shot or one-shot a Hulk now, which is also very, very good. Again, it basically opens up more build opportunities because you don't have to take a support weapon that does anti-tank. You can just bring these, and you get, I think, 3 of them. So like it does very, very well with having like an anti-tank or like something that can handle anti-tank in your pocket. So I'm putting it in S tier right for the time being because it is very, very useful. And of course the throwing knives. Okay, so the throwing knives got a buff. You get more of them, right? But in my opinion, that doesn't really fix the issue of them, which is they feel really, really slow, and I still don't feel like they do enough damage, in my opinion. And I still think that you should be able to pick them up still. I'm going to put them in D tier because they feel worthless to use still. I would love them to do... I don't even think... No, actually, no. They do Armor Pen 4 a little bit. But to be honest with you, why bring this to do Armor Pen 4 whenever you can just take a Thermite grenade? Or just a support weapon that can just do anti-tank. You know, if you're wanting to flex and if you want to look cool, you can bring these. But in my opinion, like they're a suboptimal, you know, throwable or grenade or like what you want to call them. I guess to be a throwable really. And until they buff these, you know, I'm gonna put it in D tier. They just need to have more speed. If they had more speed, they probably would be in B tier right now. But currently how it is that you have to lead this knife you have to lead it a lot in order to get any type of hit whatsoever. And even the hit is not guaranteeing you a kill. It's just guaranteeing you to like piss off the thing that you're trying to kill, and it doesn't really do anything. So I mean, like for the time being, sure, like you got a lot of them, but you know, buff the speed on them, and I think they would be like a B tier option as far as the throwable. So this is my tier list for grenades and throwables in the game right now. If you know, like, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section down below about this tier list, where I'm right and where I'm wrong, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.